The Alpha King's Omega Pet, a short werewolf romance. Bring her to me. The command cuts through the inferno like a blade, deep and dangerous, promising violence. Two massive shifter warriors grab Ava's arms, their grip bruising as they drag her forward through the town square. Her heart pounds so hard, she can barely breathe. This can't be real. Just yesterday she was gathering herbs in the garden, learning healing chants from the elders. Now, through her tears, she watches her world burn. The Moonbloom Pack's village, once a haven of peace and learning, now lies in ashes. Smoke chokes the air, mixing with the sense of terror and blood. Somewhere, a child wails, and a man moans in pain. The sounds of her people suffering pierce Ava's heart. And there, in the heart of this nightmare, stands the Alpha King. His name is Cain, and he towers over them all, a dark god of war in human form, his shoulders broad enough to block out the sun. But it's his face that makes Ava's breath catch, beautiful in its cruelty, with sharp cheekbones and full lips curved in a perpetual sneer. His warriors force Ava to her knees before him, and the sheer power radiating from him makes her Omega Wolf retreat deep inside her mind. She's never felt so helpless. The healer in her has always faced pain and suffering with calm strength, but now that strength abandons her completely. "This girl is your Alpha's heir?" Cain asks. His laugh is dark honey and broken glass. His men join in, their mockery echoing across the burning square. "Please!" Ava's mother breaks from the crowd of captives. "We've submitted. We've sworn fealty to the Bloodfang Pack. There's no need for hostages." While Cain's pack train warriors, Ava's pack train scholars and healers, their libraries holding centuries of knowledge and their gardens rare medicinal herbs. Ava's father, their Alpha, believed that diplomacy and trade would protect them better than claws and fangs. And so for years, they'd walked a careful line with Cain's increasingly powerful pack, offering healing, knowledge, and trade agreements to keep the peace. But peace was never what Cain wanted. The attack came at dawn, a tide of black-furred warriors. The battle lasted less time than it takes to draw a breath. "My lord, please," Ava's mother sobs, crawling forward. "We swear fealty to you. There's no need for you to take Ava. What if we're in need of a healer?" The conquering Alpha replies, making his men laugh again. "Then take me instead," Ava's mother cries. "My daughter's barely finished her healer's training. She's just a girl." Cain's eyes snap to Ava as he grips her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. This close, she can see flecks of red in his golden eyes. His thumb brushes her lower lip, and his smirk grows cruel. "Then perhaps," he purrs, "I'm in need of entertainment." Her mother's wail of despair is cut short as Cain hefts Ava over his shoulder like she weighs nothing. Shock waves through her body, leaving her numb. This morning she was a respected healer in training, daughter of an Alpha. Now she's nothing but spoils of war. She catches one last glimpse of her home as the monster who's claimed her as property carries her away, her mother's tear-streaked face backlit by flames that devour everything she's ever known and loved. The journey to the Alpha King's territory feels endless. Ava walks until her feet bleed. The Alpha King's warriors do their best to break her. They mock her stumbling steps, make crude jokes about what their Alpha plans to do with her. Cain leads the group, his massive form cutting through the forest like a blade. He hasn't looked at her once since they left. His earlier words, "Perhaps I'm in need of entertainment," echo in her mind with each step. On the third day, her body betrays her. The world spins. And suddenly, Ava finds herself face down in the dirt. The warrior's laughter rings in her ears as she tries and fails to stand. "Weak little Omega can't even walk properly," one sneers. A shadow falls over her. Ava looks up to find Cain towering above, his expression unreadable. Then, without a word, he scoops her into his arms. The sudden contact makes her Omega Wolf tremble, but he carries her up the mountain nonetheless. Through half-closed eyes, she sees their destination emerge from the mist, a fortress carved into the mountainside, one that looks less like a home and more like a weapon thrust into the sky. This is it, Ava thinks as they pass the tall barricades. Warriors drill in courtyards, their snarls and clashing weapons echoing off stone walls. Even the pups mirror their savagery. Tiny faces set in fierce scowls as they practice combat forms. No one smiles. No one laughs. Ava thinks this is the most miserable sight she's ever seen. Cain deposits her in the main courtyard, gesturing to a stern-faced woman to take Ava away when... "Welcome back, nephew," greets a voice, honey smooth, but that leaves ice in its wake. A tall warrior approaches, so similar to Cain they could be twins, but older, with cruelty etched into the lines around his eyes. "Is this the Moonbloom Alpha's daughter?" he asks, eyeing Ava. "It is, Uncle Victor," Cain replies. His voice holds a note of deference that surprises Ava as the stern-faced woman drags her away. "Why did you carry her?" she hears Victor asks. "The pack watches everything you do, nephew. Every gesture, every weakness. We cannot afford softness, not when we've worked so hard to build our reputation." The housekeeper grips Ava's arm, hurrying her inside. "That was Victor, the pack's beta," she whispers. "Cain's uncle and closest advisor. If you value your life, girl, you'll pray he forgets you exist." Trapped inside the fortress, days blur together for Ava. First, she's too exhausted to do more than sleep. Then fear keeps her confined to her tiny room. Better to be forgotten, she thinks, than to discover what plans her captors have for her. She curls in the corner of her bed, watching shadows crawl across stone walls for days, until eventually, hunger for fresh air draws her to the window. Below, in the courtyard, Alpha Cain drills his warriors, his commanding presence making even hardened fighters tremble. There's something wrong about the scene, Ava thinks. There's no joy in their training, only fear of failure. A young boy, no more than 12, struggles with a complex combat form. His limbs shake with exhaustion, but he keeps trying, terror evident in every movement. Victor's voice cuts through the morning air like a whip. Pathetic. He grabs the boy's arm, twisting until something cracks. This is what weakness looks like. This is what we destroy. The boy's cry of pain echoes off the stone walls, and something in Ava snaps. This isn't strength. It's cruelty, masquerading as leadership. When Cain's eyes flick up to her window, she meets his gaze with undisguised contempt. The boy is dragged away, arm hanging wrong, face bruised. This won't do. Ava's healer instincts override her fear. She finds the housekeeper, Martha, in the hallway. "Please," Ava whispers. "I need to find that boy. He's injured." "You'll only bring trouble on yourself," Martha warns. But something in Ava's determination makes her sigh. The training barracks. But be quick. She finds the boy huddled in a corner, snarling weakly when she approaches. "I won't hurt you," Ava soothes, letting her Omega energy create a gentle atmosphere. "I'm a healer." His resistance crumbles as her power eases his pain. The snarls turn to quiet whimpers, then silence as bones knit and bruises fade. When she finishes, he looks at her with confused gratitude, as if kindness is a language he's forgotten how to speak. Ava responds with a tentative smile, but then, "What is this?" a voice barks. "Victor." He stands there with a snarl that freezes the blood in Ava's veins. How did he even know she was here? Ava laments. The beta drags her to the council chamber, where Cain sits with his advisors. "Your Omega pet defies our ways," he spits, pushing her down on the floor. "She healed the weakness we were trying to burn out. She must be punished." Cain studies Ava for a long moment, his golden eyes boring into hers. Any other Omega would cower, submit, beg forgiveness. But Ava lifts her chin and meets his gaze directly, silently daring him to punish her for an act of mercy. His nostrils flare slightly as he reads the defiance in her face. For a heartbeat, the air between them crackles with tension. But then, "The boy is more useful healed," Cain sighs. "He can return to training sooner." Victor knocks his fist angrily on the table. "Nephew!" he barks. "You can't—" "Enough." Cain's voice carries the full weight of his alpha power. "Do not question me again." As guards escort Ava back to her room, she feels Victor's hatred burning into her back. But it's Cain's expression that haunts her. That brief moment when his mask slipped, showing something almost like approval. The knock at her door comes after nightfall. Ava's heart stutters as the Alpha King fills the doorframe, his massive form blocking the torchlight from the hall. he steps into her room without invitation, and the space suddenly feels too small to contain his presence. "You healed him well," he says, his deep voice surprisingly soft. "The boy will fight again tomorrow." Ava stays silent, pressed against the far wall. Moonlight streams through her window, casting half his face in shadow. "But this is not our way." His tone hardens. "Here, we earn our strength through pain. Fighting through injury proves a warrior's worth. You've dishonored him by taking away that chance." "There's no honor in needless suffering," Ava whispers before she can stop herself. "He's just a child." "You will not use your power again!" Cain cuts her off, taking a step closer. His alpha energy fills the room, pressing down on her, demanding submission. Ava averts her gaze, forcing herself to nod. But they both know it's a lie. 3 days later, a young she-wolf crashes during an aerial combat drill. Her leg twists wrong, bone jutting through skin. Victor stands over her, lips curled in a sneer as he prepares to deliver punishment. Ava doesn't think, she runs. Her hands are already glowing with healing energy as she drops to her knees beside the injured wolf. The girl's pain flows into her, sharp, hot, desperate. Ava takes it all, replacing it with soothing warmth. Broken bone knits, torn muscle weaves back together, skin seals without a scar. "How dare you!" Victor's voice drips with venom. But Ava doesn't hear him. She's caught in Cain's stare. He watches her work with an intensity that makes her breath catch. There's no anger in his golden eyes. Only fascination, as if he's witnessing something he never knew existed. The she-wolf stands, testing her healed leg with wonder. And in that moment of pure relief, of suffering transformed into healing, Ava sees Cain's lips twitch in what might almost be a smile. Day by day, Ava weaves herself into the fabric of pack life. She leaves herbs for sore muscles outside warriors' doors. She bandages training wounds with gentle hands and softer words. When she finds pups practicing war cries until their throats are raw, she teaches them healing songs instead. Cain appears like a shadow whenever she works. At first, he watches from doorways, rigid with barely contained aggression, his wolf prowling beneath his skin. But the longer he stays in her presence, the more his tension ebbs. Sometimes, he even asks questions about her healing, his voice rough as if unused to gentle conversation. "Why waste energy healing minor wounds?" he demands one day, watching her tend a warrior's sprained wrist. "Because pain is unnecessary," she answers simply. His brow furrows at that, but he stays. Victor's criticism grows sharper with each visit. "She's poisoning your mind, nephew, making you weak." But Cain's returns grow more frequent, drawn to the peace he finds in her presence like a moth to flame. The pack changes, slowly but surely. Warriors who once snarled now nod respectfully when she passes. They step between her and Victor's cold glares. Pups tumble after her like ducklings, begging for stories of her homeland. One day, a young wolf's laughter rings through the stone halls, the first such sound in years. No one punishes him. Then comes the morning that changes everything. Ava sits in the courtyard's only patch of sun, surrounded by pups. Instead of combat drills, she teaches them a clapping game from her childhood. Their giggles float up to where Cain watches from the balcony. "Sometimes," she tells them, catching a tiny hand in hers, "gentle touches can be stronger than harsh ones." Cain's sharp intake of breath draws her gaze. The look on his face steals her breath. Raw, vulnerable, like a man seeing sunlight for the first time. He stares at his pack's pups playing instead of fighting, at warriors watching with soft eyes instead of sneers, at the warmth that's crept into his cold fortress. And that evening, as she heals a guard's training wound, Cain kneels beside her. His massive hands clench and unclench, betraying his inner turmoil. "Thank you," he whispers, so quietly she almost misses it. When she meets his eyes, she finds shame there, and underneath it, a desperate hope. That very night, as moonlight spills through Ava's window, Victor materializes from the shadows. His presence fills her small room with ice, but she refuses to back away. "Sweet little Omega," he purrs. "So far from home. Don't you miss your mother's tears? Your pack's gentle ways?" His cruel smile doesn't reach his eyes. I could help you escape. Tonight. Now. The offer catches Ava off guard. Home. The thought pulls at something deep in her chest. But then she remembers the pup's laughter, the warrior's softening eyes, Cain's grateful gaze when she heals his people. They need me here. The Alpha King. Victor's face twists. Need you? He interrupts. You've corrupted everything we built. His hand shoots out, gripping her arm. If you won't go willingly, you'll go by force. Ava's scream echoes off stone walls as Victor drags her toward the courtyard. She fights, claws, kicks, but his grip is iron. Then a roar shakes the very foundations of the fortress. Cain explodes from the shadows, his massive black wolf form bristling with rage. Victor shifts to meet him, gray fur standing on end. The two crash together in a fury of fangs and claws. Their battle is terrible to witness. Victor fights with desperate hatred, but Cain's fury is cold and focused. When Victor finally submits, throat bared and bleeding, Cain shifts back to human form. Leave, he commands, voice heavy with alpha power. You're banished from these lands. Nephew, please, Victor spits blood. Everything I did was to keep us strong. No, everything you did was to keep us afraid. Cain's eyes find Ava's. We've found a better way. Victor limps away into the darkness, his hatred a tangible thing in his wake. Cain approaches Ava slowly. You could have gone home, he whispers, reaching for her, then stopping himself. Why fight it? Ava steps into his space, letting her hand rest against his chest. Because I believe you need me, she admits softly. His arms wrap around her, tentative at first, then fierce. 3 days of peace follow, then the warning howls begin. Victor returns at dawn, leading a rival pack 100 strong. Their snarls echo off the mountain as they surround the fortress. Cain's face hardens at the sight. My brother's hatred of change will destroy us all, he tells his gathered pack. I'll face them alone. Draw them away from our lands. Cain, no. Ava starts forward, but he cuts her off. If I don't return, his eyes lock with hers, full of everything left unsaid. Ava will be your Luna. She'll lead you better than I ever could. He cups her face with one rough hand. She already has. Before she can protest, he shifts and charges into battle. The battle lasts 3 days, until they find Cain collapsed in a field of fallen enemies. Victor lies dead nearby, his final betrayal written in blood. Cain's massive black wolf form is barely recognizable beneath the wounds, deep gashes that won't heal, silver-laced cuts that poison his blood, a broken body that held on through sheer will until his pack was safe. When they bring him to his chambers, he's burning with fever. His skin is gray, his breathing shallow. Ava's heart nearly stops at the sight of him. Let me go, he rasps when she reaches for him. I showed mercy, and it nearly destroyed us all. Quiet, Ava orders, surprising everyone including herself. She places her hands on his chest, channeling her omega energy into his broken body. The wounds are worse than anything she's ever healed, deep, poisoned, resistant to her power. But she doesn't stop. Hours blur into days. Ava pours everything she has into him, her strength, her light, her love. When her power falters, she feels the pack's energy outside the door, their worry and hope feeding her own. Warriors who once sneered at healing now bring her herbs and water, beg her not to give up on their alpha. On the 3rd night, her vision starts to blur. Her hands shake as she works, but still she fights. Cain's fever spikes dangerously high. Please, he begs in delirium. I don't deserve help. I should have been stronger. Exhausted beyond measure, Ava cradles his face between her hands. His skin burns against her palms, his golden eyes clouded with fever and shame. Listen to me, Cain, she whispers fiercely. You showed the greatest strength of all. You were willing to die to protect your pack. That's not weakness. It's love. And love. Her voice breaks. Love is the strongest magic there is. Something shifts in his gaze. His wolf surges forward, golden eyes clearing as they lock onto hers. His massive hand comes up to cover hers against his cheek. Ava, he breathes her name like a prayer. My fierce little healer. My heart. His other hand tangles in her hair, drawing her closer. I've been such a fool. I thought strength meant never needing anyone. But you, You make me stronger than I've ever been. Because you learn to protect instead of destroy, she whispers against his lips. I love you, he says, the words rough with emotion. My mate, my moon, my mercy. When their lips meet, it feels like coming home. Her omega energy surges, completing the healing in a burst of pure light. Around them, the pack's answering howls fill the night, celebrating not just their alpha's recovery, but the love that transformed them all. Spring comes to the fortress, and with it, transformation. Where once there were only training grounds, gardens now bloom with healing herbs. The clash of weapons still rings through the courtyards, but now it's accompanied by laughter and encouragement. Warriors who once trained to dominate now learn to protect, understanding at last that true strength lies in defending others. Cain moves through his pack like a changed wolf. His power hasn't diminished. If anything, it's grown stronger. But now it's tempered with wisdom. Where once he ruled through fear, he leads through respect. Young wolves no longer cower in his presence. Instead, they seek his guidance, knowing they'll find both strength and mercy in his counsel. The fortress itself seems to breathe easier. Music drifts from the great hall, where once there was only silence. Pups play in corridors that once echoed with harsh commands. Even the stone walls appear warmer, as if the love that transformed the pack has seeped into the very foundation of their home. On the night of the full moon, when the pack gathers in the courtyard, Cain takes Ava's hand before them all. The mighty alpha who once saw kindness as weakness now looks at her with undisguised devotion. You were brought here as a captive, he says, his deep voice carrying to every ear. But you've freed us all. You've taught us that true strength isn't about how many we can defeat, but how many we can protect. You didn't just heal our wounds. You healed our hearts. Under the silver light of the moon, he marks her as his mate, his gentle bite a promise of eternal love. Their wolves twine together, black and white, strength and mercy. Two halves of a whole, finally united.